So in this video I've got the JOYALENS 249S digital microscope. Now I've already done a separate unboxing video of this microscope, so if you want to see everything in the package and the assembly of this scope, you can refer back to the unboxing video, which I'll put somewhere up here and also down in the description as well. But in this video we're going to look at the scope itself and actually its functions and look at various things with it, see how it works. So the scope comes with this 10-inch display on it. Now the smaller version comes with a 7-inch. This one that I was provided was a 10-inch display, and with this scope we have 3 different interchangeable lenses. Right now I've got the L lens on there, which is set for 90 to 300 millimeters of distance between the object that we're measuring on the plate. And speaking of the build plate, here is our build plate. It does have mounting points for screw hold downs, so we can put little pins on there for holding down PCBs or anything like that. I haven't installed those, but you can certainly do that. And we also have 2 flexible, as you see, LED lights that are on there, and they are controlled via this little device right here. This whole scope is USB powered. It's plugged into the wall there with an adapter, and what this does is, one, it lets us turn the power on and off to the whole scope. And these lower 2 buttons are for controlling the brightness. So right now it's at level 4, so I can increase the brightness up to 8, or I can bring it all the way down to 1. So I'll put it back up to 4. So that gives us a little way to power everything and also control the brightness of our LED lights. And you can run this off one of those little USB battery banks. I've already tried that with this. So it gives it some portability if you have a USB power bank nearby and you don't want to use a wall adapter like we're doing here. So to give an example, again, as I say, we are using the L lens on there, and the L lens is good for looking at stuff like for soldering and whatnot. That's what they recommend, because it keeps the scope up high enough so that you can do your work down below with a soldering iron and not have the scope in the way, while being able to have the image up here of the magnification. Now, looking at the monitor, it does have the capacity for a micro SD card to be installed, so it will support recording and also taking photos of what you're looking at with the scope here. For example, I will hit the record button, and now you can see it's changed to red up here, and we'll of course be seeing this on the computer as well. So we're currently recording. So for example, if I want to look at something, here is a old APC UPS monitoring board from 1989. So we can look at that in the scope here, and of course we'll be able to see the raw video from the scope on the computer through its recording. So for instance, I can see some of the Motorola ICs that are on this really old circuit board. Can certainly read the text on there. Copyright 1989 APCC. And see various components like resistors and diodes and other things. And again, this is where you'd be using your soldering iron, because you can come in here with your soldering iron and be able to look very close up of the work that you're doing. This is just a pen that I'm using for demonstration purposes. And again, this is being achieved with the L lens with the scope pretty far up on this rail there, which I can turn to the side here, as we can see. Maybe bring it down. So yes, the scope has a couple of adjustments. We have a knob here to fine-tune the height adjustment, which also helps with focus. If I loosen this knob here, we can slide the whole scope up and down. And if I rotate it the other way to this side, we have the knob on this end, and that one of course can be used for moving the scope in and out depending on what we're looking at. And then we do have an end stop down here, so that way if we're bringing the scope down, we actually have a stop point here so it doesn't go all the way down on the board. So that's essentially how the scope goes up and down. So let's try looking at some different items with different lenses. So as I say, we do have the L lens on there, and changing out these lenses is pretty simple. All we have to do is take the screws out So of course they fall down. And we have our two other lenses in here. So we have our general purpose lens. Let's see if I can find it. So yeah, we have our general purpose A lens, which is what we'll use. And then we have another lens in there, which is for close-up stuff, which we'll also look at. So changing these lenses out are pretty easy. They do have a little slot on each side so that it allows it to line up. Just pull it out like so. Pop the new lens in. And then we take our screws and we will just thread them in. And we don't have to put these screws in super tight. They're basically just there to help hold the lens in place. These are the screw in place. And we'll just take our L lens and put it in the bag here for protection and put it off to the side. So now that we've got the A lens, I'll put my hand down there, but of course our monitor is way too far up, so I need to bring it down some and then adjust the focus. So we'll bring it to the stop point. And of course got my hand down there. Now let's adjust the focus down below, which is this part here. Bring the focus. And now we can see my fingers. So again, this is the A lens. This one is good for, let's see, just to say. So this is from 12 millimeters to 320 millimeters distance from the object you're looking at. So again, this is more of your general purpose style lens for what you'll look at probably most objects with. Like if you're looking at coins or other things like that, you'll probably be using this lens more often. And I can still look at our board, but as you see, we've got a little more field of view now because we don't have as much magnification as with the L lens here, which you can also tell from the physical size of it. So still looking at our board, which as I say, you can look at other details like my hands, for example. And this is still recording, so we'll be able to see this on the computer. So now let's move up to the next lens. And that one is going to require another piece as well, because we're going to look at some microscope slides. So I put this lens down. And now the lens we're going to use is the D lens. And this one has a very short distance of 4 to 5 millimeters, so very close up fine details. I'm going to put that lens in there, put this one away. And we'll attach the lens up in there. And secure this one. And as I say, the other piece we're going to use is the part for looking at microscope slides, because we can't really use overhead lights with a microscope slide. You need to project the light from below the slide. And this scope does come with a component for that, which is this little light block right here. So there's an LED in the middle, and that plugs into the same port that our lights come from. So I'm going to unplug that. And now plug this in, and now we have illumination under there. So get this all situated. And then we're going to find ourselves some microscope slides that it comes with in the pack here as samples to look at. Pull one out. Phone tab. And for instance, you can see the first one we have here is of a pine stem. So I'm going to put that over top. And of course, as I say, we're still recording on the monitor, so I need to bring this a bit closer in than what we've got right now. Unthread that. and stop down a ways. Okay, actually, we are not close enough. There we are. So now we've got the pine stem. Let me actually bring that a little closer so we can actually get a much better view of it. Well, there you are. Focus fine-tuned a little bit. There we go. Now we got the pine stem in focus. And as you see, with this much magnification, just little movements are quite large. Now, one thing I can do with this scope is I can take a picture while I'm recording. So if I hit the picture button, actually, instead I'm going to use the remote control. So take a picture is the top button. I press that, we see it flash up there. And now we've got a picture on the micro SD card of our little pine stem. Now, one thing I'm also going to demonstrate while I'm here is I'm also going to demonstrate the Wi-Fi function. Because you see there's a little Wi-Fi icon over here in the corner of the display. I press the button on the remote here. Of course, I can do it from the inbuilt menu. I press that. It's going to enable Wi-Fi, and now you see it has a SSID displayed here, and then star something something with a WPA2 address, or password I should say, of 1234567. So what I'll do is now I'll bring my iPad over, and we will connect to the Wi-Fi of the scope, and we'll be able to see this very same image here on the iPad. So we get screen recording going on the iPad. Come over to settings, look at our Wi-Fi, connect to Endenstar, and then the app that I had to use that works with this scope is called My Measure App. It's the first one I have here. I tap on that. I've already added the scope to it, so I just tap on that. And now you can see I've got the scope image there. We can have it from the SD card, and we also have it being shown from the iPad here. And of course, you can see the movements on it as well. Of course, we can take pictures and video with the iPad with its own memory as well if we wanted to. But now with Wi-Fi, I can now wirelessly project what the scope is seeing on my iPad, or even, my Android phone or Android tablet if I so choose. And speaking of the monitor and stuff like that with projecting stuff, it does have an HDMI out on the monitor, so you could actually hook this up to a big flat screen monitor or something if you were showing it for presentations or stuff like that, and they'd be able to see it on a much larger display of what you're looking at. So that's that part. So let's try looking at something different on the microscope slide. So let me pull this one off. And what else we got in here to choose from? Let's see, here we have the epidermis of an onion. Let's see what this looks like under the scope, and if we have to change the magnification that much. Let's see. Of course, the kicker is getting it lined up. That's a very small item. As anyone who's done a biology class with microscope slides, they know how difficult it is to get something lined up. I'm not even sure if that's the epidermis or not. Oh, there it is. There's what we're looking for. There, just getting it into focus. Epidermis of an onion. Oh, I see it has actually stopped recording on the scope. I did not realize that when I hooked up the Wi-Fi, that I see it is not actively recording, and it looks like it has disconnected. Oh no, it says connect. That means it is connected because I can still see it on the iPad here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the Wi-Fi off. So it says disconnected. And for the sake of it, let's take a picture using the monitor. Although it's always a little shaky trying to use the buttons for something like this, so I will use the remote to take a shot. And we see it shows there. And so now we should have a picture of that epidermis up on the SD card. I'll just move this away. So I think you pretty much have the idea of how this scope works. And looking at the top of the monitor, we can see where we have our micro SD card and our connection for USB-C, and of course the HDMI is back there if we want to output to a computer monitor. Now looking at the controls on our display, here we have our power button. Next to that is our menu key. And we have our digital zoom in and digital zoom out, along with our buttons for starting and stopping recording, and also for taking a photo, whether it's already recording video or not. So for instance, if we wanted to digitally zoom in on here, we can press that and we can see a little icon on the side there showing what our magnification level is. So that is now at 2.2x digital magnification of what we have already on there with our A lens. I want to back out. Press the other one, and I can hold that, and that will allow me to zoom all the way back out. Now for the menu, we just press the menu key. Actually, we press and hold the menu key, and then by doing that, if we press the menu key again, we can get into our settings. Our up and down keys for the zoom act is what we want to choose, so we can enable our Wi-Fi, our grid line settings, change our date and time, language, frequency, format the micro SD card, or go back to our default settings and look at our versions. And if we use the record button, that's basically our OK key. So we can use that. And if we press the menu key again, it exits out of the menu. Press and hold to go back to the menu before. And here in this menu, we can change the camera settings for the scope. So we can set our resolution. So in the case of this, right now it's set for regular HD video, so 1920 by 1080. It does do 2048 by 1536, so you can double that resolution if you so choose. You also, of course, have even much higher resolutions than that because this is a 4K capable scope. So we can go all the way to 5600 by 4200 if we really wanted to. Of course, this is our photo resolution. Quality, white balance, ISO, exposure. So pretty much all of our photo settings. And that's the keys of how to work with the monitor. So with that, that pretty much concludes this video on the JOYALENS 249MS digital microscope. Hey guys, Brian here. Do me a favor and click that like button down below, and while you're at it, go ahead and click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content when I post it. See you guys in the next one.